This is PPD. You guys are watching Thorin's YouTube channel. One of the only men with a bigger ego than even myself.
What about after this, there was that move, which it turns out has happened multiple times now, where Anna was like, see you next year, guys. Leaves fucking exit stage left. That's already a bit weird. That a player, it's one thing. Here's the thing: if it just said Anna's leaving the team, be like, okay, fair enough. But like, he's on hiatus for a year. Like, it's not fucking university. You can't take a year off. So that's a weird question in itself. But then also the player you got in Resolution, everyone now is going to be like, oh, it's obvious she'd get like. Actually, this is like an interesting pickup at this point in time. Like, I wondered what this move was like, and what did you think of the Anna thing of him just leaving, and then he did come back. To be fair, it was great. But what the fuck was that?
I think Anna thing was certainly a little bit expected. He was over, like even before coming to the TI, like I got the iffiness, like is this the thing to do, sort of thing, and is it worth it? I think he also like had to take a step back to really look at things in a better light, to like see his potential. And then I think later on when he like comes back, I think he sort of probably understood like his place in Dota. With Resolutions, I think what happened to us as a team is the OG-ness started to split. And I'm gonna be honest, like I'm not really sure what it is exactly, but it didn't seem to click with Resolution. And there was disconnected ideas. I think there was a lot of strong opinions like clashing together, and it wasn't the same let's be open, where I sort of got the sense that the trust didn't really get to build the way it was with the previous players, for example Anna, me, and so on. And I think that those clashes were from the very much the get-go, and we just couldn't make it work.
Was it a shock to go from being in finals, semi-finals would usually be a bad place, to you're just getting 7th to 8th, you're just going out in group stages and stuff? Is it a shock to come back down like that?
I think results-wise, yeah, sure. It feels bad when you don't get results like that. That's certainly one aspect to it. Like you look at other teams or you look at other players and you're like, these guys keep winning. Like Liquid keeps winning every tournament and we're not even close. We're not catching our things. We don't know what we are doing. Like that feels bad. Where you feel like it's a catch-up game, but you're actually going further and further back. Now, I also understood in those moments where you just get the like, when you tune into the atmosphere of the team, like day by day, you get a sense of like, okay, this is probably not the championship capable team. Like it doesn't feel like we are progressing the same way, because when you have been to those teams, like when you have won majors, when you feel like you're actually progressing, there is a certain sense of that. At least like I seem to have like some sort of idea of like when that's happening. It's hard to describe. But it's it's a feeling, and when we had that team with Resolution, like it didn't seem to click, and it's sort of like it's obvious that it doesn't work. It's obvious that these results happen. Like we are not really doing it. Like something is off, and sort of you feel like you kind of don't deserve to win.
After this, you had this crazy period, which. If this was if it wasn't real life, if it was a Hollywood movie about a video game team that wins the major, this is how you'd make like the sort of like end of the first act. What would happen is you'd have the great betrayal. All of a sudden, out comes S4 and Fly, and even better, they don't just leave the team. And remember, everyone remembers No Tail and Fly was just like they were like fucking married in Dota, basically. Like they were never supposed to be broken apart. And I've talked to some of the other guys. I know that like they absolutely did not expect this move. And of all places, Evil Genius. The name even fits. That was the evil empire in fucking Dota. That was the bloody Americans that were talking shit on everyone. Like, if there's anyone you don't go and join, it's Evil Geniuses, right? When this move happened, can you remember when you first heard it's happening? What did you think?
Well, I was shocked, to say the least. I had no, like it came out of nowhere. I got the feeling that we had a longer period of time when we weren't feeling very good. I got the feeling as well that maybe there is gonna be changes one day, but like not yet. And yeah, it was that specific Birmingham tournament where just like as we drop out of the tournament, I get to hear it almost one of the. I'm not sure it was almost immediately, probably the next day. I would say next day, where I get the message. It's like, yeah, JerAx, can you come to this room? And I'm like,
It's a bad sign already.
never, like, there is no, like, it never happened before.
Okay.
Like, it's not the JerAx come to the room. Never happened before. And I didn't hear it. Like, I didn't know it yet, if I remember correct. I was like, yeah, this is serious. And then I was like, well, is somebody ill or something or whatever? Like, I was like, that was my genuine reaction. I felt like something had happened to somebody and they're, you know. And yeah, it was straight to the face of like, yeah, I'm going to another team. That was it. And it was dealt very poorly. Like, sure, I appreciate, like, I was being told it face to face. It could have happened all through messages. And
did you feel betrayed though?
Little bit, yeah. And I feel it's not with me and him, but I think for him and Johan. I think that's what I feel betrayed of. Where I feel like it wasn't done in a way where, like, it didn't come from like a place of value. It came from a place of this is my sole interest. Like, this is what I want for myself. And there's no, it felt like it didn't give any way to like have a conversation about it. It's sort of like I've already decided this guy's better than you, you know, I'm going there. You know, it's not a, yeah, I was very just feeling bad, not just for myself, but more for Johan and for their friendship. And yeah, I think that period, like the week, especially the week after, was one of those feelings when you feel like, I don't know where the heck are we going to? And it's like, you know, TI is coming. This guy just took the
spot as well. You have to qualify through open qualifier now.
Yeah. But it felt like this guy just decided that he's joining this team and he feels like, okay, he's gonna have an easy time. Like, they get to TI, and then we like you know, US. I feel like it was US qualifiers. It's easy route, whereas we go through the Europe with two. Whoever, like at that time, like it could have been any two players.
Yeah.
And like when you know that's coming in a month, and this is like it was probably 2 months, to be honest, because if I remember correct, like we took some time, then we chose the players, and then we had a little over a month to practice, if I remember correct.
Sure.
But yeah, it was like, yeah, I don't think this TI is gonna work out again. That was the genuine feeling. All shared it. And we were also like, what the heck are we gonna do with our lives?
Let me ask you this question then, because as I say, one thing I actually always appreciate is that you guys didn't pretend like, no, we were secretly sick all along and we were definitely going to win. Like, people know that this was not a choice. Like, no one chose these moves to happen. They would have, you guys would have just stuck with the original lineup and gone to TI. So what I want to ask is this, again, in the movie, this would be a brilliant fucking scene. It'd be a montage scene. It's getting a posse together. It's like, fuck, who's even available? Right. Anna, he can come back. Okay, Anna, he's back. No-tail, you go support. I guess if people don't know, No-tail was the carry. No-tail goes support. Ceb, who'd already had to stand in, just has to play. He's the fucking off-laner now, which is like, he was a coach, he was retired, guys. And then probably the craziest one, even though because it worked, everyone thinks, like, oh, it's obvious. Like, Thorin was not a professional player. He was just a high elo guy, right? So this lineup, it's like you say, I don't blame you. Like, who could ever see the potential of this lineup? It's such a crazy put together. It's a bit ragtag, you know?
Yeah. But basically, all those feelings, and I feel like it was just a funny period when we all knew, we all shared it day by, like, we had a lot of conversations relating to like, okay, like guys, TI is gonna come. It's we have to do this open qualifier bullshit, like best of ones, best of threes against random teams, and we're gonna go through the qualifier. Like it's probably gonna be our end or whatever, but we'll give it our best shot. And came up with some, the ideas we came up with very much of like what people believe themselves to be playing with. Like it's like you're trying to rush of like you have all these ideas that you want to do in the game. You have like, yeah, let's make it beautiful. Let's practice for 3 months. Let's get this kind of repertoire of like strategy when we face this and this and this, and then we have all kinds of solutions to things. Like what I said before, it's like you play rock paper scissors and you got 2 of those. It's a very ideal position to be in. Whereas this is like I don't even know if we're gonna figure something out. You sort of have to wing it. You have to trust that, like Topias, whatever, I'm talking Thompson here. It's like he plays some weirdo heroes, yes, and you just have to pick it,
sure,
and it's gonna work, and that's what you're gambling on, and it's not a good bet. It's pretty high risk, but the thing is, like, we didn't care. It doesn't matter. The expectations are 0. Like if we do well, we do well. We didn't expect to do well, and then as you climb the steps towards TI, and then you ultimately make it to TI. That was also ridiculous. Like just making the TI.
Sure, you won every game, every match. Yeah.
Yeah. And just getting there was already quite a bit for us. Like that was very relieving. And then like whatever happens to TI, then that's just a big momentum thing, I think, out of all this. And things working our way rather than the other's way, and people really performing their best until the very last moment, like the TI finals and all that. Like it's I don't know how much where you want to ask.
Yeah, let's go. But so how about this? After you guys made it through the qualifier, like you said, the actual first story was just holy shit, they qualified even after the guys left to EG. But if people don't remember, it's not like one of those TIs where you just murked the group stage. Like the group stage was really messy. Like there was plenty of other teams, the big names, were doing a lot better. In fact, no one even thought in the bracket stage. Like I'm pretty sure everyone thought you guys are just going straight in the lower bracket, and then who knows, maybe you could win a game or 2 there. No one thought yet that you win in TI. In fact, I remember, I won't say the names, people who know me could maybe guess. There's certain like friends of mine in Dota who were like captains, let's say, and big figures and star players, where I remember during this event when they weren't playing, I would like DM them like, what the fuck, what do you think of this one? Because I kept saying to them, like, you guys told me, because they all told me this, they told me at the time the meta of Dota was win lane, win game. It was all about like drafting to like smash the lane, because everyone had superstar, everyone had Arteezy and fucking Samael and Miracle, like, and so it was like give these superstars basically like a snowball, and then you just fucking body the game. And then I kept saying, like, how is OG winning these games though? Because first of all, this lineup isn't supposed to be good, and then also they're not drafted like that. They're not drafted any of that shit. Like they're drafting just what they want to draft, which at the time was, people were like, in fact, everyone thought it was wrong. I think everyone was telling me that it's not, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know they can't win normally in a straight up game. Give me some thoughts, because clearly whatever headspace you guys was in was kind of genius.
Yeah, so I share a similar opinion at times of those days where I felt like we were drafting wrong. And I was criticizing quite a bit of like some ideas, because I felt like if you don't address the laning stage, like just like you said, like the laning stage was really important, and if you don't address it like well enough, the game, like you will play uphill battle. Now, I think we found sort of the sweet spot for our team in that sense. Like, I think Ana was never a person to win a lane. Like, he's not designed to do that. Like sure, he could have worked on it and all that, but in the end of the day, like, that's never been his strength as a player. And if you want a lane, like, the game is honestly just over most of the time. Like that, but that didn't happen very often. I like that TI specifically. It's just us leaning to our comfort, not giving a shit about like what do other people think about the game, and sort of building our own ideas. Now, we certainly played the lane winning things, like Thorin played those heroes. It was a really good fit for that patch. And I think the way I played the game was like I was if there's a lane winning hero in the middle lane, like I'm the accelerator of that. That was my role in the team. And sure, like we also, like me and Ceb definitely struggled at times where he felt like, I'm supposed to help him in the lane. He also needs to snowball. It's not just Thorin, but I think over time he came to realize that Thorin is just simply carrying these games alone when he has a good enough start. Like some of the games, not all of them, of course.
If this again was the movie, we're in Hollywood now, one of the best scenes would surely be the EG upper bracket game. Yeah. Not just because it's ridiculous. Like I could guarantee you, if I could get a lie detector, I bet they all thought they were going to win this. I bet they thought this is like an easy upper bracket final. But if you watch this game, especially like that third one where it's like a 50-minute banger, it's like, holy fuck, mate. It seems like an obvious question to ask, but to win, you must have had insane schadenfreude to be like, I actually loved watching you lose in a way. Like it's the ultimate revenge match.
Yeah, and it felt like that. I like not on my end, but I definitely got
the team vibe.
You have a guy next to you that's pretty angry, right. And he's willing to take it all. He's willing to do whatever it takes, and he's very vocal about it. So it's very hard to it feels like it's much more than just about the game. And some people are able to use this as a big boost for their game. Like this energy can be channeled into their gameplay, and it's not distracting. It's actually them really putting them to focus and doing their best. And even definitely. Like this series honestly was over. We just kind of like, I think people got maybe too much of the hate.
Oh, right. Okay.
This game is already over. Like the second game is over. Like on a theory wise, the game's over. Like we go enemy base and then, we get wiped. And then the game is, it's open again. But I think we overstepped. I remember that game quite vividly because it's not one of my proudest moments as a teammate for my teammates.
Okay.
But it's not fun to happen on the stage when there's like, I'm gonna say so much on the line of like their emotions. Like and it's a good reminder of like staying calm and collected in the end of the days. Like you still wanna be there, not too much to the extremes.
When you got, yeah, go on.
Yeah, just the second game, I remember it quite well.
When you got to the upper bracket final and you were playing PSG.LGD, which if people don't remember, was a fucking really strong team at this point in time. And in fact, again, when I was messaging my friends who know the game, they were all telling me, bro, this team's going to win TI. Like, there's no way they can lose twice to anyone. Like, they're just impossible. And then, like I said, it's mainly the team that you'd lost with when you were in Team Liquid. And this year, I remember basically, I always tell people, if you haven't watched Dota 2 before, but you want to get into it, the two matches you watch are TI, PSG.LGD versus OG. You watch the upper bracket final, you watch the fight. You don't have to know anything about Dota, but you will immediately realize, holy fuck, this is like the most exciting game ever played, like in fucking esports or something. Like when I watch these games back, I feel like I feel like if you're on LGD, you must just think a million times about some of the decisions at the end of the game and some of the split-second things and some of the things in fights that happen and the Anna fucking sellback and stuff. It's like this again. This is like a movie, mate. The way you win in this scenario. This is like Rocky getting the shit beaten off, and then the Yendi wins at the final. Like these. Give me some thoughts being in these games. They look amazing from the outside, mate. These are bangers.
Definitely, very good team to like competitively. Like they were the team that challenged us the most, like drafting wise. I feel like they were a very good team to play together, and I think the general sense to like how to beat them, like the best way we figured out over time was to try to pick very late game oriented game because you simply couldn't beat them in their team fighting game, and this was this worked almost every single time. It was barely ever we lost this way, but I think they understood at some point that this is what people are doing against them, and they were making, I felt like they really stepped up their game. They played the game like later stages in the game, and it was way harder to actually win. And so I think overall they had improved a lot since the past. Now, about these games, like I think they were the guys who were often holding things, like being very disciplined, I would say. And I think we were trying to create the chaos. Like this is almost every single one of these games that we played against them. And it's sort of like us trying to be the disturbance of like them trying to get to what they want. And they're really trying to hold on to their cards and like, okay, if we get to this, then we're going to be winning the game. And it's very back and forth. I remember. And I think, like, for example, this TI, like, they were a really strong team. I felt like they were better than us, like, just the overall as team. And we were one of the rare teams that at times they looked lost against. And that was something, especially like the finals, but also the games before. I felt like we got them out of their comfort, but that was rare. Like I looked at the other games and I feel like people didn't really find ways to do that. And that felt very important against them, to like push them after whatever they're comfortable with and sort of make them play a new game.
One of the players on their team I want to ask about, because obviously he was one of your role opposition, was obviously Fi, that player. I was a massive fanboy of this player. And I thought what was cool about the matches you got to play against him is you were both playing each other's champions. Like obviously he was playing the Earthshaker, sometimes you were playing it. He was playing the Rubik sometimes. It's one of your champions. Heroes, sorry. Yes, everyone in Dota's triggered as fuck now. I don't care, whatever. The characters in the game, you know what I mean? Give me some thoughts, because I mean, you must have an interesting perspective on them, since these are your heroes too.
I mean, I've always respected him a lot as a player. I feel like he's the cooler version of me in terms of like how he approaches the game, like more calm, more chill, and more thought through, I would say. And definitely somebody who I've looked up to throughout my career, like many times, and trying to learn from him. About the matchup itself, like I think, like I had my things, he had his things, and the interesting thing in Dota 2 is that, like the two, like back then the position 4, so that's the support role for what I played and he played. Like those are kind of playing the opposite sides of the map. So you like the matchups I used to play a lot is like I guess the position 5 of the team, or the carry,
right,
or the mid lane. Actually, more of the mid lane. Like those guys I remember the most. And like in that sense, like I never got to lane against him really, or maybe sometimes. I don't remember too much about it, but definitely got to watch his games quite a bit through replays and team fights and all that stuff. But I never really felt like he has sort of a weak link. Perhaps like he wasn't probably the most communicative player. Like I could see him being quite introverted and sort of really focused on his own performance.
As someone who obviously is also known for Rubik, give me some thoughts on his way of using that hero, because this is one of the reasons I was a stan of his, mate. He was unbelievable, right? Yeah,
I think at that time, like for sure, probably the best. And it's not something you can sort of leave on the side. And oftentimes, like supports are considered like you first pick them, and you leave them. They have the hero. This guy has his whatever Earthshaker. You leave them be. But when when you give certain players some heroes, they feel different. perhaps teams didn't want to give me Earth Spirit because they felt the game is different. And the same goes for like I think FY, it was at that time it was like Earthshaker, Rubik, and I think those are probably the most of those heroes, like the most difficult heroes to deal with in terms of like what they bring to the table like throughout the game.
When you were in that game where Anna did that ridiculous sellback and then basically won the fight off it, like I think one of the most miraculous players I've ever seen in esports. Did you actually know in the game what happened?
No, I didn't. He later told me, I think so. There's a lot going on in the game. But I remember him laughing about it. That's what I remember.
Okay. Obviously, this was also the one where you had that epic call, which everyone remembers from the True site, right? Where you're like, there's no Echo Slam, there's no Global, we can go in. Like, bro, I think if you pause that game, it's like a lot of these fights. I don't know if even some of your teammates thought you'd win that fight. These are uphill battles sometimes, right?
If I remember correct, this is the last game of the TI8.
I think so. Correct? I think so. It's the winning one, I think.
Yeah, I think in that specific, that specific game is actually very special in the sense that, like, I think something happened with me of like becoming like extremely confident in myself. I don't really know why. I actually haven't really felt that way previously, but I also felt like there was there's a lot of things in the air in these games when it's like it's about the one game and everything needs to click, if it's now or never. And I feel like I got a lot of vibes of like people being uncertain of like what we're supposed to do. And I think perhaps my reaction to that is like I need to, take in the role of like actually guiding here. And I think that those specific fights, I'm just like extremely loud because I feel like people don't see it clearly. So I really want to translate what I see. That I think is the game winning play. And that's me.
And then another game I wanted to ask about was obviously the Ceb Axe game. Because this is another one where, like, someone again, these are all, by the way, I can't say who because obviously it's private info, but these are like fucking super legit people who know a lot about Dota. They were telling me, like, this draft is the end of them. Like, why have they drafted that, basically? Like, there's no way he's going to get, like, kills in the game. He's not going to get into, like, it's over. They're just going to lose the fucking fight. There must be in a very special headspace to make a draft like this. And then, obviously, he did. He actually fucking carried the game. This was unbelievable. A coach who had to come in and carried the game.
I mean, to call him a coach at that point is probably
he didn't coach for a while, though,
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I'll give a little insight to that. He actually played a lot of, like, while he was coaching, like, he actually played a lot of Dota.
Kept his hours up, right, okay.
And why he did that mainly is to help Anna play his game and try to figure out the game. Like, him playing the game would help him, for example, getting better at the laning stage, which he will translate to Anna. Now it's probably also like him wanting to play the game. I'm not saying that. And maybe he thought that one day he wants to play again, but it certainly helped him quite a bit. Now, I think that game specific, like, why it's brave is that we have a very greedy draft. And things have to sort of work at the times, because like greedy, like at that time, I felt like greedy drafts usually have like a very specific timing, and when you win that team fight, it can turn around. Now, it's not something. It's not a nice thing to be playing always. Where if you miss that timing, if you're not like aligned with your teammates, what they're doing, and sort of understand like what's actually important, then it's like I think this is also the reason why people couldn't pull these drafts off. Like what we did is that, you go fight too early or too late, it just feels like the lineup doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. So you have to make it work at the very specific times. And that game, it's like Axe Blink Dagger, like you need to make it work in order to like bring some pressure on the map, and then like later in the game, like he gets very clutch things happening in the team fights that like really pull it all together while we were all kind of dead, and the hope is sort of lost.
As you said, the way that you guys were drafting was almost the opposite of the meta. You were drafting the late game heroes, but as a result, it means that that's actually why I think these games are so amazing to watch. Because what you see is LGD get what they want. They get like the matchups. They're getting ahead. They're getting the early kills. It looks like they're in great position. But what I wanted to ask was this: it's all well and good thinking we're going to like scale up to that point and then we're going to come in late, but sure, there's no way you can game plan this. No one can draw this out on a board. There's no way to plan what you're going to do. Sure, plans are just coming in the moment, right? You've decided when to take a rush, when to go do a push, when to try and get a gank. Like, is it not? Are people not nervous? Don't you feel like you're kind of on a tightrope if you play like that?
Let me think a bit. I think so. I think it's a very patch. So specific thing. I think this patch, where what we played at that TI, people didn't want to play the scaling drafts because it felt like it's really hard to get to the late game. Like so many things happened before that. You feel like you're not control of the game, and now you're trying to come back to the game where you have no control over the map, and it just feels miserable, and you feel like you can't do very much. But what people struggled is to find the timings between that, like the late game timing, and in like there are some timings in the middle game where you can actually make things work, and those are what we played for quite a bit, and we had the later scaling. For example, like I said, I criticized us like previously. Like even at this TI, like I would have got a sense that if we played a more laning-oriented drafts, like I think we might have been able to win games more easily, as
right.
you know. But this is just all theory. But I certainly shared that feeling during this tournament that we were probably not, for a bunch of reasons, doing not the optimized thing. Because no practice time, we're just playing games after games after game, and you have to perform and win every single one of them, otherwise you can't win TI. So I totally also got that we don't have the time. People have figured out their thing, we have figured out our thing, let's test it out. Gotta trust it.
Give me some thoughts on what does a team need to do to make Anna play like he plays at these TIs? Because people knew before he had talent, but actually just like the fact he kept leaving and taking these hiatuses, it seemed like a bit of a strange guy. I mean, that story you told earlier, like Ceb essentially sort of had to sort of like build a relationship with him, build him up as a player. Like, what do you have to do? Because you see, if you can get him to that point, he was unleashed in these events. He was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah. And like some of those games, like I don't think many players could have carried. Like honestly, you look at them and what he does in the games, and he's playing like a mini game that has very difficult odds of you winning. But if you sort of pull it off in the right way at the right times, then you can win it. And I think he liked those games, and it was his comfort, I think. And I think how you make Anna work, like the essential part here is to understand me as a person. I think not everybody's the same. Not everybody practices the same amount, for example. Like Anna doesn't practice the same amount of other people. Like it simply won't happen. So you have to come to accept him as a person. Now, what that means is that sometimes he's just going to goof around in a practice day. Now, he doesn't do this all on purpose. Like he doesn't, it's not because it's too, it's just boring and all that, but there's just nothing on the line. Like it's really hard for some people to stay motivated when like you practice for the test, but you just want the test to already be there. Like you need more intense sensory experience rather than just like playing these endless practice days where we're sort of testing some things out. Maybe they work, maybe they don't. Like he didn't care. I don't think he cared very much of that, even though he knew it's a very essential part of the team. What he cared is more of like his own personal, like what he actually thinks about the game and what he wants to do, and feeling good about that. And sometimes it felt like sometimes it meant that me and him played some non-ranked games and just clowned around or whatever, like things that seemed obnoxious or like not worth of a professional player's time. But I think in the end of the day, like, you know, I think he knows himself the best in the end, like, and like you gotta, when somebody, like when you keep pushing them and they keep fighting against you, then something's probably off, and they probably know better for themselves. And I think our team was very good at giving him the room and the energy he needs to like be himself. And when it came to matches days, like be like supportive for him, because I think he had it also tough at times because he felt a lot of pressure. And yeah.
When you won this tournament, if we pick up the thread from earlier, it sounds like a lot of your career, you were questioning who you are and trying to figure out who you are as a player and fit into a team and find a team that has the right vibe for you. And then you had all this nightmare where the players left beforehand. You didn't think there was any expectation for TI. As you say, at the end of the tournament, you're feeling yourself. Actually, it's going awesome. You're making these fucking hero calls. When you win TI, please tell me that moment fucking actually lives up to what everyone wants it to be. Is that like the proper top of the mountain, like I made it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the main thing for me is why it felt so good is the journey we went with the team. And I think it was a lot of overcoming like things that felt simply not something you can overcome. It's hard to describe the feeling that you have after like going through all that and then you make it. Like it makes it so much better. And it, like the win itself, yeah, I think it's sort of a reminder for me that at least it worked as a reminder for me of like why should we keep playing together, for example, of like what does it feel like to be in this team and to like, okay, now we're on the stage, like what got us here. Those sort of thoughts were mostly coming to my mind.
In this esports world, it can seem like everyone's against you, but I've always got the Skrilluminati, my Patreon community, riding with me. And it is thanks to the support of the following people, this video and all of them on my channel are made possible. Matt, Pugnacho Rakula, Ahmed Haju, Frisky, Tosh, Jensen Gore, Animosity, Toucan, Tobias Bernasconi. If you've ever watched my videos, you know now I'm going to give a massive shout out to Jerky's Minion, the main man. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? You want teasers? Find out who the upcoming interview guests are. Maybe you want to ask me a question. I tend to answer them at length in my video AMA. Do you want to take part in one of those dinner discussions where we talk about what you're interested in esports? Well, if any of these perks or more appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Skrilluminati today, where in the description box below is a Patreon link.